Hello, everyone. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a little while. I think my last episode was April, and I thought I'd give you a little update about what's going on, what's happening, and what I'm up to. This is a solo episode, my first solo episode, and the reason I'm doing a solo episode is because I'm actually moving my podcast to a new platform. We're doing some video, and just kind of some new tech and new platform. And I thought I'd let you know what I was up to. So I started my role in April. Sorry, not in April. In September as the chapter learning officer for YPO, or Young Presidents Organization in BC, and I've been doing that role since September. But really, there's a lot of pre-planning to set up the year. Basically, I put on all the education and learning for this chapter of members that has about 110 members in British Columbia. And so I'm the learning officer and have put on about 12 events since September. So it's basically been my full-time job, and I've been spending a lot of time there. But I also want to get back to doing my podcast and having guests on. And also I really like the idea of doing some solo episodes because there's some things that I love to talk about and I talk to people about. And whenever I talk about certain issues, there's some time a conversation about, hey, tell me more about that, And one of the things I'd like to talk about today is something I did over the holidays, which was, go dark, so to speak, or sort of disconnect from technology. And whenever I talk to people about that, especially around the holidays, I get a lot of people asking, what'd you do? How'd you do it? And how did you feel? And what was it about? And I've heard a lot of different stories about people, about technology, and and we're addicted to it, and we got to stop and scale back, and these devices and all of that, and I sort of took the stance, or I've taken the stance that we can't do without technology. Whether you believe in it or not is a whole other story. But I mean, even to come back to Canada, if you leave the country, you need an app. You need ArriveCan to come into Canada, so you need an app on your phone. You can't be like, well, I'm not going to participate in technology, and I'm going to completely go off electronics. It's just not feasible, and technology can help us a lot in many ways. I love listening to music on my phone. I love listening to audible books, so I want my devices in my life. I like them. But I read this book behind for the video. It's called Indistractable, and ironically it was also, the author also wrote a book about habit forming applications like Instagram and Facebook and things like that. So I thought it would be a really interesting book to read. And before I decided what I was going to do with going dark or going off electronics was, what's really my intention here? And this book really, it just really resonated with me, because what it is about is basically talking about distractions on your devices. And almost more importantly, it was about whether the application serves you or are you serving it. And for some reason, this really resonated with me because my love language is acts of service. So when people do things for me, I feel loved, and I just feel very appreciated. And so with technology, if I am a slave or servant to this tech, then I'm kind of annoyed. And what I mean by that is, technology that makes my life really easy, like Audible or Spotify or whatever it is, Google Maps, directions, those serve me really well, and I just love them. It's like, wow, Uber or Starbucks mobile app or whatever, these things serve me. And so what I wanted to do is figure out, okay, what the book talks about a lot is the things that you have to serve or you're a slave to are the things that are really distracting you all the time. And so what I ended up doing is I really followed the book, and I uninstalled all the applications on my phone for 15 days. So from December 26th to January 9th, I think it was, I uninstalled, and I've got a list here. I uninstalled WhatsApp, Messenger, Slack, Gmail, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Google News, Facebook, Instagram, and a couple of others. I left, of course, my camera, Audible, Spotify and things like that. But I took away all the things that are distractions. Now, don't get me wrong. If my family texts me or my dad or my sister texts me, I don't consider it a distraction. But because they all come into one channel, you can't pick and choose. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to ignore those distractions and I'm going to pay attention to these ones. So what I did is I told my family, hey, I'm going to be off for a couple of weeks, and I'm okay, but I won't be texting back. And so it was really amazing because when I disconnected, there was like a calmness that happened. I'd go check my phone and I'd be like, oh, I don't have that application. I can't check that, or I can't look at that. And so it got really quiet, noise in my mind, blood pressure or whatever it is, just really calmed down. And I just found it so fascinating. And even, not reading the news. Now, I'm not trying to ignore the news, but I copy and pasted the news once. I should find the photo, but I copied the news page once. And I mean, it was just headline after headline of negative information that just is not happy. It's not good. It's not good news. And so these are the headlines that were being fed. I'm just looking for it on my phone here because I screenshotted it early on. But, it was about so-and-so, the mass killing and mudslides. And these are things that we care about. Don't get me wrong. Don't take this. Every time you say something, it can be polarizing. But I mean, we care about these things. But there's a lot of good things happening in the world, but they never make the headlines. It's all the crazy, bad news. And I read another book once called It Takes What It Takes, and it talks about bad news and listening to it. So he even jokes, don't listen to country music. You listen to country music, it's like your truck got stolen, your girl got stolen, your dog died, and it's sort of a downward spiral of sadness. And so anything that you read or consume that's negative, you just take it in. It's just the opposite of good news. You take good news in, and you have a happier disposition. So all of that went away, and it was bizarre. It was like not connected. The sort of negativity, the having stuff fed to you was completely gone. And I've never done this before, and it sounds like, oh, Graham, like no big deal, but it's a really big deal. When you completely disconnect all that, now you're actually choosing what you pay attention to. And this is what this book talks about, how to control your attention and choose your life. So you get to choose what you consume versus being fed something that you might not like. And so the first couple of days it was kind of weird because I habitually go to my phone and check something. And I'm going, oh, okay, well, now I've got to, I'm going to listen to something. I'm going to listen to something that I want to listen to. So I ended up reading or listening to 6 books in 15 days, and I don't normally do that. That's not something I normally do. I'm not trying to pretend that I read 6 books in 2 weeks all the time. But what happened, because you have this free time, when I was exercising or walking by myself, I listened to it at 1.75 to 2 times speed, so you can finish a 3-hour book in an hour and a half. So if you're going out for an hour walk, you've pretty much read a book. And by the way, sidebar, but Audible, I know some people say, oh, I can't do Audible. I can't do books on audio. I have to read them or touch them or whatever. And I actually bought a Kindle thinking I was going to go dark, and I'm not going to use my phone. I'm not going to listen to anything. I'm going to do a Kindle, and it lasted about a day. And I just said, I can't do this for some reason. So having a book read to you by the author, I always check that now. I said, is the author reading this? Or is it, you can hire somebody to read your book on Audible? And I mean, the ones that are read by the author or the writer of the book is absolutely amazing. So, Little Stretchy Pants by Chip Wilson. Chip Wilson is reading that book. Chip Wilson's talking to you for 4 hours, 5 hours. And I read this one, someone told me to read this book, Grant Cardone, at 10x. And if you read 10x on Audible at 1.75 speed, you've got Grant Cardone yeah, bigger goals, 10x, you can do this. Da, da, da. So it's really fast, and it's actually really energizing. So I was able to choose the stuff and the content that I listened to or consumed, and it was a wonderful feeling. It was really odd because I think we're all a little bit there. I just speak for myself. I'm addicted to my phone in that it's with me all the time. I'm checking it all the time, and to have it sort of really calm down, I was way more present with my family. I was way more present with my kids, and it was just so calming. Probably the calmest vacation I can think I've ever had. And I will say, I completely disconnected from work, and I don't think I've ever done that before. I just did not read one work email, did not respond to one work email, did not log into Slack and read and respond to Slack messages. And, shout out to my team, Daisy at A&A and Carl at Border Buddy for, just allowing me to do that. I told them ahead of time, I'm not going to be on, if you want my hotel information or whatever, here you go. And I didn't hear from them. There was no fires. There was no issues that they weren't capable of handling. And so it was a wonderful experience. I'm grateful to them for helping me with that. But not checking work email once on vacation, since the invention of email, I'm older now. The email's been around. I've been around since before email, and I don't think I've ever done that. We had internal email before, and we used to be able to log in and check and get messages. But as a grown adult, I've never not checked work email on vacation. And it was just wonderful because the distractions, back to the book for a second, the distractions that you get can completely change your tone and energy. So, one of the rules I have in my exec meetings or offsites is we're not allowed to check phones on breaks, because you could be in day 2 of a strategic planning session or something that you're deep into and you're thinking about it. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to go use the washroom or take a break, go for a walk. You pull out your phone and you get a stupid message. And by a stupid message, I mean, it's like you could get a 1-star review, Google review, and you're like, you read it and you're annoyed. You're instantly thinking about this guy or gal that gave you a 1-star review, or, hey, the dog threw up or something. And it's going to, your mind instantly is going to be gone from what you were just concentrating on to this thing on your phone. So you go back to the room now, and guess what? You're thinking about that 1-star review. I got to get back to that guy. I got to check into this, or, I hope the dog's okay, or whatever it is. And it's just completely distracting. So having meetings without tech and having meetings without that distraction is huge. And so when you're with your family and you pick up the phone and see something that annoys you, you're instantly annoyed. You just take it in. So I didn't have any of that at all. And it was wonderful. So it's pretty easy to do. It's basically, you have to uninstall all the apps. And the other thing I did was, part of this book, I recategorized my apps on my phone. So I have 3 folders now on my phone. One's called primary tools. So these are the things I use every day. And inside I have my calendar, Spotify, Audible, Maps, things like that. The other one is aspirations. And so this is, Strava, FitnessPal, Trainerize, Habit Bull, Training Peaks, Fitbit, things like that. These are things that you're trying to self-improve or be better at. And then the third one, which I love, is called slot machines. And slot machine is just, mindless fun. Don't get me wrong, I'm nothing against slot machines, but you're just going to go in here and you're just going to go waste time and money. And so you're going to go in here and you're going to check WhatsApp, you're going to check Messenger, you're going to check Facebook, YouTube, Zillow. Zillow is basically a social media tool now. P.S. Anyone from Zillow listening to this, you got to put a news feed or a feed into Zillow listings so you can tag your friends into things. It's a wonderful platform that could be turned into an awesome social platform. But so now I'm consciously going in there and knowing, okay, is this a slot machine? Is this something that is going to be taking my time and attention, or is it something that's helping me? My primary tools tab is all things that are helping me and serving me. So that was a really fun experiment, and I'll tell you about what happened when I reinstalled everything. So now we're coming home, vacation's over. I install everything on 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 the 9th, and I mean, and I'm not bragging about this, but you know how WhatsApp group goes. You know, you could have 32 messages in a minute and a half because there's a hot topic in there. So I came back and there's hundreds of messages downloaded. So I've never been off of WhatsApp since I've installed it for 15 days. That's half a month. I've never been off the platform for that long since I've had it. So you log in, boom, 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 all the groups and pings start coming in. Facebook or Facebook Messenger, same thing. And the interesting part is it was a 15-day break, but I was caught up within about, I think it was less than 4 hours. It was sort of like an hour and a half, part of travel. And it was just like scrolling through, looking anything big. And so you think about that, the amount of time I would have spent on that in a day, every day over 15 days, it probably would have been, 15, 20 hours of time I would have spent versus an hour and a half sort of staying on top of it. So that was a really interesting experience, coming back to all the notifications and pings and things like that. But then what happened was I instantly could feel my heart rate go up. I could feel like a tightening in my chest. And I was texting my sister and my family at the time to sort of say what I was feeling. And it was kind of made me sad because it was like I was free from this for a while. And then I came back to all these pings and messages. And what I noticed right away is my mind was foggy. And I think the reason for that is because instantly I had about 12 conversations that were half finished. So these conversations have a sender and a receiver, and you've got to reconnect. So someone asks me something, I've got to respond. But it's not like a regular conversation, right? You face-to-face with somebody asks you a question, you respond. But imagine 12 people asking you questions. Anyone with kids knows this. If all three of your kids are asking you questions at the same time, you're like, can someone stop talking, please? I need to just concentrate on one of you. Where with WhatsApp and Messenger, you have 12, 15, 20 conversations going, and they're all in your brain because I owe somebody a response. And so I felt this sort of tightening in my chest, and I felt this angst, I guess, of, oh my gosh, what have I done? I've sort of got this fire hose now of information coming at me, and I feel like I owe people responses. So then I became a slave to it again. So now I have to serve it. And what I've started to appreciate, last night I was out for dinner, and I mean, there's nothing better than face-to-face. It's like, if I have a to-do in 2022, it's to do more face-to-face, connect with people, see them face-to-face, go out for dinner, lunch, coffee, whatever it is, because the texting is almost like a time killer, because there was nothing in there that was substantial. There's nothing in there heavy. There's nothing that really connected me with people. It was more just fun stuff, and I still enjoy it, and I still participate in it. But a good dinner, 2-3 hours together, you can't beat it. And so, and then it got a little sad for me because as we were leaving, it gets busy, and I went to Starbucks with my youngest daughter, and we had a little ritual of doing that, and on vacation, and I had nothing to look at on my phone, so I never had my phone on or never had it with me. And then all of a sudden, because I've got all these messages, and I'm kind of having fun reconnecting with people again, my phone now is like in between me and my daughter. So she's seeing this, this back of my phone, and she's talking to me. But I was into these conversations again, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? The human I care about right now in the moment is standing right in front of me, sitting right in front of me, wanting to talk to me, and I had my phone up. And so that made me a bit sad because I was almost thinking of putting a sticker on the back of my phone, like, tell me, Daddy, put the phone down or whatever it is. And it became really obvious to me that hey, the person in front of you, what's the saying about phones? It can make you close to people from afar, but far from people that are close, because you've disconnected with the person sitting right next to you to talk to somebody that's far away. And I really believe in that and believe that. And so that would kind of made me sad. So I was like, immediately tuck the phone in my pocket and think that, okay, this is not, the thing on the phone is not important. This human being standing in front of me is what's important right now. And, and so that was a big, that's what I've been missing or not missing over the last couple of weeks. So I just wanted to explain that and kind of explain my experience with it, because I had a couple conversations with people that, the other thing is it makes you realize, I kind of forgot about this, but it makes you realize how unimportant you are. So I don't kid myself in thinking that I'm really important in my business. And I think what happens is, I joke with people, like, if you die tomorrow, people will literally scroll by you in the feed and go like, sad emoticon, sorry for your loss. And the very next thing they're looking at is, Kanye's new hoodie from the Gap. And that's how fast we last now. It's like, okay, really sorry, thoughts and prayers, whatever it is, and next. So they literally don't stop anything. People just, okay, go on to the next thing in the feed. And you have your funeral and things like that, and it's over. And think about all the business leaders that have died, Steve Jobs, Apple's doubled in value since he's passed away. So what it made me realize is, okay, I'm not that important. There's so many capable people around me, smarter people around me that can make the business better, make lots of things better. And I had a couple of texts that people had texted me, but of course they wouldn't get the received mark. They wouldn't have received the check mark that I received it. And so I found it interesting that I don't think I got I didn't get one phone call of, why didn't Graham respond to my text? So no one phoned me, and nobody was sort of like, oh, interesting, Graham didn't receive this. Like, is he upside down in a ditch somewhere, or is he just, not looking at his phone? And we're talking 2 weeks, right? It wasn't like a day. But nothing was so important that they missed a response from me that badly. So that was kind of like, oh, that's really interesting. I don't know if I'm sad about that, or if that's just an understanding of, hey, we all have busy lives. We're all doing our own thing. We love other people and our families and things like that. But everyone has their own thing going, and other people aren't as important than what's going on in their own life. It's just a fact. It's like, I got all these things I got to do, and something happened over there. I feel bad about that, or whatever it is. But it was kind of a very introspective moment. So I thought I would recap all of that, and that was my experience with it. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I will do this probably on any sort of major vacation. So I'm not talking, 3-day weekends or things like that, but anything over 5 days of vacation. Absolutely loved it. Would completely unplug from all that again. It's very calming. It's very changes your whole mindset. And I remember thinking, oh, this is what I used to do in, 1993, before I had a phone, before I had something to look at all the time. And it was a really wonderful, freeing experience that was something that was really fun to try. Highly recommend the book. The other books that I read, because people asked me this too, the other books I read over the holidays, which all strangely really aligned, it was really interesting. So I read The Family Board Meeting. You have only 18, what is it? What's the total title?
The Family Board Meeting.
Yeah, The Family Board Meeting. You have 18 summers to create lasting connections with your children. And my dad used to tell me all that. He goes, I kind of got you for 18 years, and then you could be, I stayed home until I was like 25, but you have sort of 18 summers with them. And what are you going to do between now and then to really connect? So ironically, I read Indistractable first, and then you read The Family Board Meeting. You have 18 summers left, which is all about staying connected. And one of the rules of the Family Board Meeting is no electronics. You could use it for a picture, but you cannot check email when you're with your child. The concept is that you do these family meetings with your child one-on-one with no distractions. It was wonderful. I read The Remote Work Revolution. I read Playing to Win, and I read The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone and Content Inc. So the 10X rule, you have to read that. It's one of those things where Grant Cardone is a sort of influencer, celebrity type guy that I put him in the sort of the same self-help as Tony Robbins and things like that, where they're very energetic and very influential. But this was really a great book to read about, not setting your goals too small. Make big goals. We're only here for a short time. And the bigger your goal, if you fail at that goal, the more you're going to achieve. If you set a small goal that you can easily achieve, you may achieve it, but it's a small goal. Go for a 10X goal. And if you reach 8X, you still beat your regular sort of mediocre goal. So I was able to read all those books, and a lot of them were all about this distraction and being focused and not multitasking, but single tasking. And so just a lot of alignment there on this topic of removing distractions, being focused on what matters, what's in front of you. And it was a wonderful experience. So that's it for today. I've got some podcasts coming up with some guests, and I'm also going to do more solo episodes like this just to deconstruct some of the things that are on my mind with some of the experiments that I've tried. And I'd love to talk to you on Twitter. So I'm at GS Robbins, GSROBINS on Twitter. And I love the conversations on Twitter. It's really fun talking to people over there. And would love to talk to you over there about that. And we will talk to you next time. Thank you.